This is episode 239 of the Super League pod. With loads of news and real ramifications in the week's action, we've made this one a three-way, and the potential episode titles just kept coming. Find out whose striptease had Sarah saying goodbye a year early. Is Alan still a secret cast fan? What accolade did the official press release miss from Carl Ablett's distinguished career records? Is it Radders in or bedsheets out in one split Hull household? We answer all that and more. We've got your fan views on all sorts of rugby league news and action. Plus, we get our guesses in for the week ahead of playoff action. Buckle up, or just lay back in front of a log fire and wait for Stephen Ratchford to be named on the team sheet. Because it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 239 of the Super League pod. It was potentially going to be the Junior Takeover episode, but instead you've been left with a three-way. It's me, Mark the Wigan fan, it's Sarah the Hull FC fan, and it's Alan the Bradford fan, and we're going to try and talk about the ramifications of a big week in rugby league in terms of the Super League situation, the playoffs that we've got to preview, and also there's loads of news all of a sudden, so we're going to get to all of that in a short while. We've got a few little bits to touch on before we get to that. So first of all, Alan, do you want to tell us who the sponsor of this episode of Super League Pod is?
Yep, so this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. Find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more on Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any order over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers by putting SLP discount at checkout.
Brilliant. And Sarah, as is tradition when you're on the show, give us a little flavour of what's been going on at our friends the Mountain Warriors Juniors.
So they finished off the season on Thursday with a feisty match, shall we say, otherwise known as an assault by half the opposition on them.
Yeah, apparently Jesse Sonny-Lefeo was playing for...
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And Ben Flower, Joshua was keen to tell everyone that was a particular Ben Flower moment.
That's very much a fair shout. Yeah,
just to equalise it, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
it's true.
I have to say it's the best that Mighton have ever played. I don't know what possessed some of them, but their
probably
tackling was amazing. So that was it was good to see the performance, but it wasn't quite so good to see the tactics of the opposition.
And our young budding halfback, how is his halfback game going versus maybe his shift towards the refereeing side of things, because he seems to know the rules better than the referees he thinks.
He does think that. He called he gave a call to play which led to a try, so that was good to see.
Excellent.
He had they had a gala day on Saturday and he had a match at hooker, but he didn't enjoy that.
No, but pulling the strings from halfback, it's good to see. He's now got an off season to solidify his kicking skills and that sort of stuff, and maybe do a bit more tackling work, and then he can play down the middle at hooker. Yeah,
definitely.
Excellent stuff. We have a shout out to give. A couple of long time listeners have had a challenging week, so we want to give them a special shout out and tell them that we're all behind them at SLP, and that's Owen and Helen. Owen's been around since the start, and I don't think if Owen hadn't listened to the show, Sarah, we might not have you as one of our wonderful co-hosts.
No, it was Owen that introduced me to the show. They kept going on about this podcast.
They had a dramatic house move in the week, and then Owen's not been so well over the weekend, so we just want to give a big shout out to those guys and hope that everything gets sorted quickly for them.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, that's our opening done, because we've got loads of news to talk about. So we're going to move on to that now.
Let's do that.
So, huge amounts of news from around the world of rugby league this week, and it's definitely from around the whole world of rugby league that we're going to be talking about various topics. So, we're going to start with the Super League Dream Team. 5 St Helens players have been named in the Dream Team for 2019. Fullback Lachlan Coote, winger Tommy Makinson, centre Kevin Nagwama, prop Luke Thompson and loose forward Morgan Knowles, who helped the Saints to the League Leaders Shield by a record 16 points. Leeds, Warrington and Salford have 2 players each, and then so they are Conrad Hurrell and Ash Hanley for Leeds, Blake Austin and Darryl Clark for Warrington, and Josh Jones and Jackson Hastings for Salford. And then the team's completed by Wigan's Liam Farrell and Castleford's Liam Watts. Super League's dream team has been selected by the Man of Steel panelists from a shortlist that they created from the points that they gave to people over the seasons. That points-based system obviously is being used to select the Steve Prescott Man of Steel at their awards night on the 6th of October at the Lowry in Manchester. Get your tickets, fans, if you want to go along to that. I'll definitely be there. And Tom Andrews got in touch, of course, our news commentator extraordinaire. He said, agree with most. I'd have Evolds over Coop, Lomax over Austin, and Gildart over Hurrell. Well, the good news, Tom, is the SLP Dream Team vote is now open, so you can make your votes for who you want. Check out our social media channels at Super League Pod on Twitter or facebook.com/Super League Pod, and there'll be links to cast your votes on what starts the SLP award systems award season, the Dream Team. Anyone got anything to add over above what Tom suggested there?
Only briefly. It's interesting. I think that the fact, because you could make an argument that actually you start with the 13 St Helens players and then you have to make an argument for another player replacing them, and don't you? You have to make an argument that that player's been better in that position than Alex Walmsley, for example. So you have to choose a prop who's been better than Alex Walmsley, and that's a difficult thing to do. But I wonder if this. The Man of Steel points has influenced it slightly in terms of you're picking out flashy players, and I'm thinking Conrad Hurrell here because he scored a lot of points early on with some kind of flashy performances, even though he probably hasn't been in the top two.
It means if you're a standout player for a rubbish team, then you're going to pick up a lot more points, aren't you, than a team like St Helens, where actually you could probably pick 10 players to give the points to each match.
Yeah,
exactly.
I refer you to my previous answer with Conrad. Yeah.
Well, exactly. That was my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the potentially controversial choices, I think, is Liam Farrell because he's only played in 13 Super League games. I would obviously beat the drum hard that Liam Farrell has still been the best second rower in the competition, even though he has only played that games. He's made more meters per game than any second rower, more tackles per game than any second rower. And also tackled at a better tackle success rate than any other second rower. So
someone else must love gingers.
Well, exactly. So he deserves his place on the stats, but not maybe the game time. I suppose they're the conversations. Gildart not being anywhere near was a surprise to me. It feels like that's one that's been missed. But
but again, I think we've talked about him a lot this year in terms of good performances, but whether he's kind of made that top 3 in terms of points every week is obviously, because he's part of he's part of a golden age, as somebody'd like to talk about. He's part of a broader system, isn't he? So Williams might be picking up points, or as you say, Fowler might be picking up points, and he's just maybe missing out, even though he's undoubtedly had a very good year.
Well, everyone that made the Super League Dream Team is available to receive votes in the SLP Dream Team. Plus, we've added a few other options in there where we felt players have been particularly deserving of a nod in that regard. Okay, let's move on to some head coaching news. Alan.
Yep, so Christian Wolff will replace Justin Holbrook as head coach of St Helens from the start of next year. The 44-year-old has spent the past 5 years in charge of Tonga, leading them to the World Cup semi-final in 2017. He had been working as assistant to ex-Saints boss Nathan Brown at the Newcastle Knights and became interim head coach for 2 games when Brown left. Wolff has signed a 2-year deal with the Super League leaders with a further 12-month option. Couple of people got in touch on this one. Karsten says a good choice, and his track record as coach of Tonga and Townsville Blackhawks is quite good. Coaching the Knights was a shit job overall, even just for 2 games.
Can't judge him on his record in those 2 games.
No, a little bit unfair, and the Knights have been a complete a dumpster fire anyway. And Tom Andrews says, let's hope even with the limited budget, he too can save the Saints from the drop in 2020. Would have thought with the resources available, they would have given a young British coach a go. Interesting. Bit of trolling there, I think, from Tom. Any thoughts on this one?
Look, is Tonga, the way he's united that Tonga side, and we'll talk a little bit more about Tonga later in the news, I think is shown that he's got calibre. So a good testing ground for him now. And probably good in a way that Salford haven't lost Ian Watson at this stage.
Yeah.
It keeps Super League stronger that Ian Watson's at one of the other teams, I think.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that one.
Talking of head coaches, Sarah.
Yeah. So Great Britain assistants Danny Ward and Ian Watson will go head-to-head with Australian counterparts Justin Holbrook and Steve Price for the 2019 Betfred Super League Coach of the Year. The four have been shortlisted following a vote of all 12 Super League coaches, with the winner to be announced at the Super League Awards on the 6th of October.
A tag on to this is... I don't think I've told you guys yet, but I've decided Coach of the Year is back on the Sloppies. We haven't had it since the very first year because it's almost always very obvious who everyone would choose from. But this year, there's 3 outstanding achievements that have been done. Saints winning the league by a record margin, Salford finishing in 3rd when everyone predicted them to finish in the bottom 3, and London winning 10 games when lots of people thought they might not win any. For that reason, a short list of Danny Ward, Ian Watson and Justin Holbrook will be on the Sloppies voting form when they open in a couple of weeks' time.
Who
would your vote go to, Sarah?
Ian Watson, I think.
Alan?
Yeah, same. And it's slightly different from the other poll you got out this week in terms of, achievement of the year. It's slightly different, I think, because I think Watson actually has pulled that bunch of players together and really overachieved with what he had at his disposal. So for me, Watson's the coach of the year.
I think it'd have been a lot harder to call had London stayed up.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that. It's a full house from me, though. I'd be Watson as well, given the outcome of Friday night's fixtures.
Yeah.
Like you say, Sarah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
here's an interesting one. I couldn't find a press release that had the operational rule written down, which is very disappointing because we like to do our operational rules reads out on the Super
That's what we all want. That's what we're all here for.
That's what everyone's tuned in for. But Warrington Wolves have been fined £2,000 by the Rugby Football League for making a late change to their squad. The breach came in the Challenge Cup semi-final against Hull FC when Stephen Ratchford replaced Josh Charnley and they failed to notify the RFL in time. Ratchford started the 22-14 win over the Black and Whites on the 27th of July, with the Wolves going on to beat Saints in the final last month. Clubs must declare their squads at noon 2 days prior to a match. Subsequent changes to the declared squads are permitted in the event of injuries or other exceptional circumstances, but must be supported by formal notification to the RFL. With amendments due to be sent as soon as the club is aware that the alteration is required. A statement from the RFL said Warrington accepted they failed to formally advise the governing body of the change within the time frame and the guidelines set out. Carsten got in touch on this one and simply exclaimed, "Cheats!" Tom Andrews said, "Pitiful punishment really. Turns out you can't recall 2 players from loan on game day and not play them anyway. We'll come out about them cheating the head test rule next too." Ooh, shots fired from Tom. Sarah, I imagine you might have some shots to fire here because it was your team that had to maybe unexpectedly line up against Stephen Ratchford in the Challenge Cup semi-finals. What do you think?
So the irony is I co-hosted the week before the Challenge Cup semi-final and I said Stephen Ratchford will play and he'll be the one that beats us.
Yeah.
And
exactly, if you were expecting it, the whole coaching staff were too, no matter what 19-man squad was named.
But, I mean, £2,000, come on. Like, that's nothing. Like, that's not even going to be, like, equivalent to their drinks bill, is it?
Well, their ownership is the richest ownership in the competition.
Like, what deterrent is that? £2,000. Like, the amount that they will have made on the back of getting to the final and winning the cup. £2,000 is nothing. And it just smacks again of we're bigger than the league, we'll do what we like. And I think it's disgusting.